Zoom to Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So hopefully we should be live very soon. It is just setting it up. It says it's live on Facebook, but I can't see it yet. So just thought I would mention that in case you were going to say anything incriminating, which I'm sure you wouldn't do.
I hope not.
But I think we are, in fact, live. So I really am so excited, April, to have you on here today to talk about how to charge what you're worth. So for people who are watching, and I can see there's a few people who want to join, and I'll just make sure to join you quickly so that you can get on that, because there's some people who particularly want to come and see you, April. So we want to make sure that they do that.
Right.
So April is a business coach and mentor, and a lot of what she has to say really resonates with me. She does some great work, particularly in the self-worth space. So without further ado, and actually before I do start you, a few false starts here. I just want to acknowledge we've got a few people online. We have John Paul Costales. We've got Kylie Brown, who says she can hear. That is good, because I had problems last night. And the lovely Yvette Claire Holdsworth. I hope you've got your Joyful Frugalista and the Joyful Business Club mug there. So thank you, Yvette, and Kim Williams as well. Over to you, April.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Serena. It's really lovely to be here. Thank you for giving me this time to have a chat to people. And yeah, please feel free, people, as we go, to leave comments and, you know, have a conversation. So I'm not doing slides, sharing slides. I like to converse more. I've found, you know, my background has been in the corporate world. And so I used to work for companies like IBM and Deloitte, and you know, I had this very professional persona which I'm kind of slowly getting rid of. Not that I'm not a professional, but I really like to do things more, you know, a little bit more casually, and really get into that conversation. And I find that slides kind of get in the way of there being a connection between me and other people watching online. So that's why I don't do slides anymore. So if you're a visual person, sorry, I don't have visuals to go with it. So just, you know that hopefully you can follow along with what I talk about, and please join in the conversation. So we called this, you know, how to get paid or charge what you're worth. And it's something that is so, I think, particularly as women, it's a really important topic, and it's been something important to me, I guess, throughout my whole life. And it's something that's evolved over time, where I've really come to understand where the limitations come from with getting paid what we're worth. And I guess the key word is worth, and more importantly, self-worth. So what, you know, through my own personal journey of you know, going into the corporate world and now running my own business, I've had to think about what I'm worth, and I've struggled with it over the years. And I don't know about you, Serena, whether this
Definitely.
is something that's come up for you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And in my case, I work in the frugal space too. So I'm all about helping people to save money. So I'm like, oh, I don't want them to spend money to buy my stuff. But the reality is, I know I give really good value. And if people don't buy my stuff, that means I can't continue to do what I do.
That's right. Absolutely. So I think just around that, so starting around that idea of self-worth, I think that's really important to kind of look at. And I will talk more about the experience of women, probably because I am one, and it's just, you know, where I come from my own experience with this. It's actually interesting. I looked up some statistics, and 60% of women believe that they're not getting paid what they're worth. And that might be in the corporate domain, or it might be people who are running their own business. So that's a fairly large proportion of people who don't feel like they're getting paid what they're worth. But around that, what I've come to discover through my own experience is that it's generally related to how you feel about yourself, and how confident you feel in being able to ask for what you're worth, and
Yes.
really understanding that what you have is a gift that that other people need and will value, but you have to value it first, and you have to know that what you've got is valuable. And so for me, really around this, it is a lot to do with mindset. So, you can ask, if you don't feel right within yourself about asking for more money, then it's that place within yourself that you need to start the work. And so when I work with clients around this all the time, and I'm always doing my own work on it too. Basically, I think we all have what I call limiting beliefs, and you might have heard of that before, or you may not have, or you might hear it called core beliefs. And often these are the beliefs that we form very early in our childhood. Some would even say, if you believe in past lives, you maybe even come in with it. But certainly in early years of our life, where we're forming our opinions of who we are and how we stack up against other people, we can get some very rigid beliefs in place that then stay with us for the rest of our lives, and they influence our behaviour, our feelings and our emotions and our reactions to things. And what I find is, working on these beliefs, the great news is, like, even if you hold some limiting beliefs, like things like I'm not worthy, or, girls aren't as smart as boys, or things like that, they're quite often common. We often have the same ones, but you can work with them and you can reframe them. So the good news is, it's not like, oh, well, I formed that belief in early childhood, therefore I'm going to have it forever. It can be quite a simple process to shift. Have you done any work yourself, Serena, in this area, or
yeah, most definitely. And it's interesting when I do identify limiting beliefs that, I talk about abundance mindset, but I still find myself with limiting beliefs about things.
Yeah.
Especially too during this 2020 recession. There's so many limiting beliefs people have too about how they shouldn't be earning money because people are doing it tough.
Yeah, that is a very common one. And it's also really common in areas where, and I work with a lot of people who are kind of giving kind of people, or have a business that's here to make a difference to the world, and they're like, they might be doing healing services, or things that are really for helping other people. And often by the nature of the people that I work with, that they're here to help others, they feel like, like at times like this, oh, I'll have to give it away for free, or I've got to help others, and I'll have to go without. And so, it is, we can have all those thoughts, and, often we'll hear them in our heads. When we hear limiting beliefs, they're often very generalized. They're sort of like a generalized statement, like, oh, I'll never be rich, or it's greedy, to want money is greedy, or I have to be perfect. And the one about perfectionism I want to talk about too, because I personally suffered from this as a child. I think I was rewarded by my father in particular when I did well at school and when I achieved. It was very achievement focused growing up. And, even, mum would say, oh, your father will be proud of you, or, if you get good grades and that sort of thing. And it was never, I adore my dad, but it was never quite enough. And his father had done that to him. So it's quite, he'd sort of inherited that. And even now he does that,
And that's something that really resonates for me, because I have children who I'm co-parenting. They're Eurasian children. So from the Asian side of their family, they get a lot of pressure to have those good grades. And that's how a very outcomes focused view.
Yeah.
And my oldest is actually gifted. He's on the gifted and talented spectrum. So it's actually very easy for him to get A's. And they're both given money depending on what grade they get and how many. And you would think that both of my kids, well, my youngest, who's the gifted one who gets it naturally, you'd think he would like that. he actually feels an incredible amount of pressure with that, and he feels it's unfair. It's unfair to his elder brother, because he knows that it's just naturally easier for him. He's not even really trying, and he doesn't like it at all. So I
Yeah.
actually had a conversation a couple of days with my youngest to say, well, what would happen, if you didn't get A's? How would you feel that I would respond? And he said, oh, I'd be okay. I'd know you'd still love me. And that's it. I said, yeah, I know. I would still love you. I'd probably be asking you what happened to see if there'd been something unusual. But, my love for you isn't dependent on the grades you get. But it is really hard in that culture.
Yeah. And that's really interesting. And so to be learning that so young, there will be limiting beliefs going on there that, certainly for me, it was a case of, well, I'm always striving for perfection, and, achievement equals love and all of this. And, I'm not good unless I do well. And then when it comes to asking for what you're worth, if you've got that perfectionist mentality, you'll always be doubting, oh, is this good enough? Or maybe I shouldn't charge too much because it's not perfect, because nothing we do in life is perfect. But if you're growing up with that sense of, oh, it has to be, like even when I got, full marks for something, my dad would say, well, why don't you get that every time? There's always,
Ooh.
I hope he's not watching, because I don't know, he won't be, but
I'm pretty sure he's not.
but it was, him thinking he thought he was doing the right thing. So, I have nothing against him for it. But so then you start to think, well, I can't do anything unless it's perfect. And so I've really had to work myself very hard in realizing that what I do, even if it's not perfect, is still highly valuable. And so when I entered the workforce as a professional, my background is in IT. I know that I went in on a salary that was probably a lot lower than a male in general, I would say, compared to other men doing the same work. I didn't negotiate high because I didn't think I was as good as them. I had some limiting beliefs around, well, I'm not as good as them. I'm not as experienced. And yet I topped all my scores at uni. I got awards, I should have walked in and said, hey, I'm one of the best and you can have me for this amount, but I didn't have that confidence. And it was actually my ex-husband, who was 7 years younger than me, had no qualifications whatsoever, was earning more than double my salary. 7 years younger, no qualifications, double my salary. And he said to me, for the next job, this is what you should do to negotiate. And he taught me how to negotiate very differently. And we practiced together, and it was just, like mind-blowing that he could know those skills, and I had never been taught them. And, it was really a confidence level. So, it's really quite interesting. And when you open it up and have the discussion like this, I'm sure there's people watching and listening that have similar stories. I have no doubt about it.
And in fact, we do have some comments, and one I've just lost. It's just kind of moved down below. But Kim Williams had a comment about how this really resonated for her as well. So sorry, Kim, I just can't see it on my screen, but I just acknowledge you did make a comment. Kylie Brown shared that feeling of I'm not enough. Yeah. Tracy is online and she said hi. And Ceremonies by Michelle Boyd has said, as a newbie in my industry, I struggle with pricing my services. Of course, over time, I will get even better, but how do I factor that into my pricing?
Beautiful. Okay, well, I've got on my notes here to talk about pricing, and we can jump to that, seeing as it's already been asked. So first of all, I think, just acknowledging that we'll all have a set of limiting beliefs, men and women. I'm not saying it's only for women as well. And working through those is really important. And in fact, I've got a worksheet, and I'm happy to share it with people who are watching, to help you just work through limiting beliefs and reframe them, because it's quite a simple process and you can largely do it yourself. You don't have to have a coach to do it with you. You can do it yourself. So I'm happy to give that to people watching. But the around the pricing, now that I have my own business, you've got to come up with your own prices. So it's kind of like, what do I charge and how do I know worth compared to other people offering services? And it's a tricky one, but for me, what I've found really works is thinking about, so I'll just quickly backtrack a tiny bit, that I work very much with, and I have an intuitive way of working, and I call it working with the divine, as some of you might know. So often what I'll do is just quiet my mind. You don't even have to believe in the divine. You can just say the universe or whatever. But I quiet my mind and I will ask questions of the universe or the divine, whatever you want to think. And often I use that process to help me with my pricing. So I'll kind of say, look, I'm developing this course. What price? And often it will drop in, a number will drop in. And then I sit with that and I say, how does that feel in my body? If I was to receive that amount of money for that service, how would I feel? Would I get excited about it, or would I feel really a bit shit about it? Like I have asked myself, what is my response going to be each time that amount comes in for that service? And I go for the price that makes me feel excited. So if I know that, receiving $200 for something, if that price lights me up and I think, if I saw that come into my PayPal account each time my PayPal goes bing, would I feel excited? Yes, then that's the price, But I also do recommend you do some research around what your competitors are doing as well. So feeling and also feeling really proud of your prices. If you're someone that doesn't feel you can go out there and proudly tell people, this is the price for my XXX, and I'm so proud of it, then there's work to be done. Either work within yourself, like your own shifting those limiting beliefs, or generally that's what it is, or you may need to reconsider why there's that why you're not proud to go out there and tell people. You should feel proud of your prices and know that what you're offering is going to be of value. And if you don't, it comes all the way back to that self-worth.
That is so huge too. And as someone who wants to pay them money for the course, it's hard to get it right, because if something's like crazy expensive, you go, really? Like I'd done a fantastic course through work, and the facilitator was amazing, and I knew she did mentoring, so I asked for the prices, and it was just like so far out of my reach. Like I would need to be CEO of a company for them paying for me. Like I couldn't see how I could ever get that value back in a short space of time. And and it was a bit sort of like confronting for me. But then by the same token, if something is too cheap, I sort of go, am I taking advantage of them? Is this actually going to be good? Is this going to just be wasting my time? Is this going to be fairly rubbishy? It's that middle path where you feel good about paying that money because it feels right for you to be paying that money. You feel like you're supporting someone who is amazing. You're getting something really good in return. It feels it feels right.
It feels aligned. So totally, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what I've come to realize is that there's a balance, almost like the universal law of balance around getting that pricing right, where you feel good and excited and proud to talk about that price, and the person paying it is excited about paying it. So if we make our services too low, and we know somewhere deep in ourselves that actually it's worth more than that, but I can't ask for more, then the person on the receiving end, that imbalance, the yin and yang, is not going to be there, and that person on the other end, the receiver, will receive less value because they won't feel right about getting too much value if they didn't pay enough. So I think it's really important that when you're making your prices, that you actually think about how that other person is going to feel when they pay for it. They're investing in themselves. When they buy from you, they are making an investment in themselves. And if you make that too low, then they're not getting that full investment. You're taking away that opportunity for them to feel like, oh wow, I've saved up for this and I really want it and I'm worth it, you know, their self-worth. You're taking that opportunity away. And it was me quite recently, you know, not that long ago, that I actually put my prices up, that I've actually seen better results for my clients, and I'm getting more clients. It's really interesting because I'm valuing what I'm doing more. They then get more value because they are like, right, I'm going to have 1 hour with April, and it's not cheap. It's not out of the ballpark, but it's not cheap. So I'm going to be prepared, and I'm going to, you know, get everything I can out of it. And then I'm going to do the work afterwards. So I'm saying, you know, someone who comes and has 1 hour with me gets such massive results because they are, you know, it's an investment in themselves. And it's just been quite really such an eye-opener for me to see that and know that by me putting up my prices, I'm doing them a favor, not just me.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but it is hard when you are first starting out, and I'm sure other people have got that question too, because you do have to start somewhere, don't you?
You do. And so when you start out, you might do a lower price than what you're going to charge down the track. But do the research, you know, check what other people in your field are offering. And if someone very experienced is charging 200, you might charge obviously less than that. But, you know, but it gives you a ballpark. It's like, okay, in a year's time, I might be able to charge that. And, or also, I think about the results that you get for the person. So when, you know, like I have a price for a one-to-one session, and my session goes for an hour. But what I've realized that the person's not paying for just 1 hour, they're paying for a result. And it's all the thinking that they do in advance of that, the work we do together, the stuff I might do in advance of that, and then the things and the steps they take after. All of that is what they get, not just 1 hour. And, you know, with 1 hour, so that's where, you know, you can say, oh, how can someone charge X amount of money? How can they possibly? If they're getting you the result that's going to change your life, then maybe they can, you know. And you know, it's worth thinking about as well. There's different price points. You know, there's always someone that's going to pay at a particular level. So you can have offerings where you think, okay, well, I want to make it so that everyone can get my services. So I might make an offering that's lower and takes me less time, and I might have a more intensive one that's higher. So you can get your own balance that way as well. Yeah. I think I cut you short there. You might have been going to say something.
No, I was listening intently. So thank you very much. And I'm not sure if there's anything more you want to add, but if not, we had a few more things that people have asked and commented on. Kylie Brown said, my mum's, you know, what she said was, without an education, you will never get anywhere. Yeah, that's a fairly big limiting belief, isn't it? And there's a lot of very successful people who haven't been educated. My own mum left school before she was 15 and went on to have a very successful career as a fashion designer, and she didn't have a formal education. So, and she's very smart and very book read. So, you know, that's definitely a limiting belief.
Yeah.
John Paul Costales, I think he wants to build on that comment you had about your ex-husband and his negotiating tips. He said, any actionable tips on the negotiating that worked in particular? Okay,
well, I will share that then. So the main thing, so this was not for people necessarily running their own business. This was when I was a paid employee. And the biggest tip was, what he suggested is not telling them what I was already on. So I knew in the job that I was in, I was being vastly underpaid. And if the new employer knew what I was on, then they know that that's my base, and they know then that anything above that is going to be attractive to me. And so my ex said, no matter what, under no circumstances whatsoever should you ever share the salary you're on. It is no one's business. It has nothing to do with the role. And so was so interesting because he and I role played it beforehand, and he kept saying, you know, so what are you on now? So that we can figure out, you know, what the ballpark should be. And I had to keep saying to him, and it was so hard not to reveal it. I had to keep saying, look, that's not relevant. Let's talk about what the role that you're offering is worth and my suitability for that role. And so you keep pushing it to talking about the job that they're hiring you for.
Yeah, which makes sense, really.
You could be on $5 a year, but, you know, going for a job that's worth, you know, $2,000, why would you talk about the $5? It's irrelevant. But every employer, they know it's a tactic they use to get the base amount. And so my advice to any woman or man negotiating is you never, ever reveal your current salary under no circumstances. And you can say it's none of your business. It's not relevant. It is, it's a different job to the one I'm going for. What you, and I want, and you push them to tell you what their range is. So you put the pressure back on them and you say, tell me what you think the range of the job is worth, because they know they have. And if they can't tell you that, because so it ended up, and I had so everything we role played was exactly what happened. And
wow.
the person pushed me. He kept saying, look, we just need to know what you're on, because otherwise we can't, you know, we can't work it out. And I'm like, but I'm not going to tell you. It's totally irrelevant. The job I'm in and the salary I negotiated with those people is completely irrelevant. You need to tell me what the job's worth. And just kept batting it back. And I knew they wanted me. And in the end, I doubled my salary. So from one job to the next.
Wow.
And I could never have done that. Never, like literally double. I couldn't have done it if I didn't have that technique up my sleeve. And I wasn't, and I had to be so rock solid. I never revealed the amount. So that's my number one tip. Don't tell them what you're on. Ask them what the job's worth.
Thank you so much for that. So we've got a little bit more time, and I wanted to note that Tracy Murray has also left a comment. So she said we need to learn to receive money from our clients.
Absolutely. This is something I've been working on. So like this is a work in progress for all of us. So even though I feel pretty comfortable with my prices now, I think the relationship we have with money is something we always have to work on. And I've got a little technique that I use, and I basically, every time money comes in to my account, I basically love it. Like I send love to it. I'm like, oh, and I feel excited. If it's $5, if it's $10, if it's $200, I get excited and I love the money. And the same when it's going out. So loving the money coming in and loving it as it goes out. It sounds weird to love money. And, you know, like if you've got issues and money brings up stuff for you, then it's worth working through it, because the way our society works is money's essential, right? We're not in a bartering world, you know. Money's been invented. It's, you know, it's what we need. We have to put food on the table. So we've got to clean up our relationship with money. The same with any, you know, if we've got niggles with our people, our children or our partners, we've got to work on that relationship. It's the same thing with money. I think we really have to be honest about how you feel. You know, have you got any, like, you know, I get this thing about, you know, the word rich kind of makes me go, ooh, or, you know, if you've got anything like that, it means you've got something that needs to be dealt with. So I agree with Tracy, like you know, being able to receive, so like having that open heart to money as it comes in
And out.
and loving it as it goes out. And when you see it go out, like sometimes if you're in that mindset of, you know, scarcity and thinking, oh, you can see money go out of your bank account and start to feel, you know, nervous about it. But if you look at it and intentionally say, okay, that money, that's going to go and feed another family, or, you know, think of all the beautiful things that other person or the government gets to do with it. You know, they're going to fix a road, or, you know, there's really, you can change the way you think about it. It's just being intentional about it.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm unusual. I actually really like paying bills. Now, that might sound bizarre because most people hate it, but I am just so blessed I have money to pay my bills.
Yes.
I really am, and it's a
Yeah.
blessing. And actually, last week, I think I had a phone call from one of my property managers. They'd sent out the plumber and the whole hot water system had burst. And it's quite an expensive thing. I think it's about $1,300.
Yep.
Now, I actually sent a thank you card to the property manager because I am actually deeply, deeply thankful that she's fixed it so soon. I mean, these things, they last for about 10, 15 years. And so, you cost that into the cost of having an investment property.
Yeah.
I could have got really angry with her and rung her up on the phone and abused her. And I suspect that's what she thought I was going to do. But I was like, yep, no, fix it. And thank you for fixing it so quickly. And that's a blessing. Then it flows through. Your tenants are happy because they know that you've attended to essential maintenance.
Yeah.
They are happy working with me. Like, then that prosperity rolls through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a mindset around money is such a critical thing. And, having the gratitude, like you say, about being able to pay the bills and, where that money goes, it's going to do good things. Money, you can do, like, that's the other quick thing I want to say is when I had an issue about becoming wealthier, I decided to start looking at other women who are wealthy and the great things that they do with their money. And so now I've turned it on its head and said, if money ends up in my ethical hands, it's better than in someone else's. And so the more money that comes to me, that I'm going to do amazing things with, and I'm going to help people, and I'm going to contribute to a beautiful society, bring it on, send me the money because I'll do some really great stuff with it, And I see the women in the world, rich women that are making, that they wouldn't be able to do the amazing work they do and make a really big impact on the world without a lot of money. So I think, it's a wonderful thing to be in that position. So I'm ready for more money.
Yeah, female philanthropist, and I can't wait to see what you do with more money. So on that note, I really wish you all the best with health, happiness, wealth, and abundance
Thank you.
with your business. And now, what offerings have you got to share with people?
Oh, look, I've got lots of things. Anyone who wants to do one-on-one coaching, I've got a range of packages that I offer for that. If anyone wants details, I can send them through you or directly. And the other program I'm running, which I'm so proud of, is Diva. It's the Divinely Inspired Valiant Action Takers group of people. We're in a closed private Facebook group, and I do trainings in there every week. So that's the most cost-effective way to work with me, but it's not one-on-one. So, there's lots of ways to work with me for anyone who feels called. And that's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I've just found your webpage with some products, so I might just share it very quickly in the Facebook group. And please feel free, April, to come back in later and to share some more things about what you do so that people can know exactly how to connect with you. I think they can hear from speaking to you today just how connected you are in terms of abundance and to that real empathy you have for other people, and that what you're channeling will really help and connect with other people to help them achieve their goals.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Wishing you all the very best.
Likewise. Same to you, Serena. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.